Our next thing on the agenda is the annual general meeting. And I guess I will just go ahead and move on to that now. Bill, is there anything I'm missing? Anything we should?
No, move on to the AGM. It's your show now.
Thank you.
We have arranged for some extra time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We've arranged with the bridge for some extra time.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I will be keeping the meeting as brief as humanly possible today. I would like to introduce to you the interim board for the Communities Without Boundaries Alberta Network. And perhaps even before I do that, I would like to make the announcement that today, this morning, first thing, we received a message from the corporate registry offices that we have been accepted as a society as of today, and therefore we're back in business. This is Sue Richmond. She's the Director of Volunteer Services in Hannah. Joe Goebel is the Community Adult Learning Program Coordinator, and she and Sue both are directors in the Hannah Learning Center. Colleen Lewis, on my left, is the Fund Development Assistant, and Colleen is single-handedly responsible for all of the legwork that went into the application for us becoming a society. Of course, I sit the board as well. My name is Ruth Cargan. I'm Click Site Coordinator and a Director at Hannah Learning Center. Missing today is Jan Beeston, our Executive Director, and Jan sends her regards to you all. She's away on vacation in Australia, thoroughly enjoying herself. So I was going to make a brief overview of the history of the society application. The process actually began on the 17th of December with a Newen search. The first application was sent January the 7th. We worked then on the application, had a second Newen's search, made some changes to the application as it was sent back to us on February 2nd. We had to change the name and add Alberta to that name. We had to renumber and slightly change a few of our bylaws, and we had to add an additional board member at that time. We performed the second Newen search, and it was received on February the 11th. A second application was sent away on February 20th. We had been asked at that time to justify the use of the term network in the name, and Andy wrote a really good letter justifying the use of that term. That letter was sent on March the 12th, and as I say this morning, we have received approval for our society status. So today we're together with you, and we have been asked to consider a recommendation from this gathering, and Andy, I believe that you will make that recommendation to us at this time.
Okay, I guess I don't have any formal wording written down, but essentially what we're recommending to the incorporators is a new board of directors, and we have 11 individuals who've been kind and gracious enough to step forward and make a representative geographically. So we're actually recommending to the existing incorporators that they increase the maximum size of the board to 12 people, so we do indeed have an opportunity to expand further and make the 11 people who are going to introduce ourselves, the new board, effective now that we're incorporated.
Thank you very much, Andy. I'll now call then for a motion to alter our bylaws. Bylaw numbered 3.4.1. Do I have anyone willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion for you, Ruth. And just for clarification, as Andy had said, there was a maximum number of 10, which we first wrote into the bylaws. So the 3.4.1 states, as it stands right now, the board of directors will consist of a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 10. What we want to do is make an amendment to this society today so that it meets the needs of this organization. And they are to be elected by a majority vote at the annual general meeting at the beginning of each year. We're considering, I believe today, this to be our AGM. These will be volunteer positions and no remuneration will be made. Then, following this meeting, the first officers meeting that takes place with the board of directors, that's where your, the first board of directors meeting following this meeting is where your officers will be elected. So does that make sense to everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so my motion is that we change the maximum number of directors from 10 to 12 and send an amendment to the societies, to corporate societies to make that change.
Do I have a seconder to that motion?
I will second that motion.
All in favor? Passed. So I now need a motion to accept the recommendation for the individuals who will sit on the ongoing board. Do I have a motion?
I will move that we accept the recommendation as presented.
Okay, a seconder for that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? Now, so effectively that the ongoing board will take over effective today, because today we have received our society status, and we will simply move on from there with the new board. Are there any other recommendations or questions from the gathering? If there are no other suggestions, questions, or recommendations, we have no other business at present. I would, however, like to sincerely thank Andy, Bill, and Leslie, and Jan as well, who isn't with us today, for all of their hard work and their commitment to the Communities Without Boundaries initiative. And I'd like to call for an adjournment to this meeting.
I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Back to you, Andy.